Welcome back to SJU, guys. It is Friday. We officially made it here, or at least most of us made it here. Emma Fyffe will be running in a little bit. I'm Roxy Striar. We have an amazing show for you guys today because we are joined with EG himself, Eric Goldman. I'm trying to make this nickname stick, but it's not working so far.
But I just want to acknowledge it's not just Friday, it's Friday the 13th.
Oh, how can I not wear my Jason shirt today?
I miss you so much, Jason. Come back, sweet summer child.
Dan Murrell, let down.
I'm so let down. I saw it in the closet this morning, too, and I was just like, it's not Halloween.
Wait, I wish that somebody in the morning said to me things like, it's Valentine's Day.
Right.
It's Friday the 13th. Like things that I never remember. I could have worn something spooky.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, well.
Wow.
We'll get another one soon.
My sincerest apologies to you guys at home that I'm just wearing a pink shirt that says Roxy on it. That's not cool. That's not cool for Friday the 13th. Oh, guys, such a disappointment. But that will be the last disappointment of the day today because we are talking about Mandalorian today. And I know this panel has some deep thoughts. Dan came in and said, I have things to say about this. So I'm excited about that. Also, we're going to try to get to the Lovecraft adaptation that BENIOFF and WEISS are doing. I will say that it's not this table's strength of knowledge, not our genius necessarily, but when Emma comes, it is absolutely hers. And then, of course, it is Friday, not only Friday the 13th, but Fan Friday, the more important part. So we'll be taking fan questions. Let's start with the Mandalorian review, though, guys. This is a non-spoiler part of the review. Then we will get into spoilers. Don't worry, we'll let you know by showing Joe. Just in time for the Mandalorian review, though, guys. It is Emma Fyffe coming into the studio. Yeah! Hell yeah, Emma.
Can I just tell you, here's the thing about Los Angeles, is that even though there's a lot of options, because it's a big city when it comes to, like, stuff, like, for example...
Italian food, you can get Mexican, Asian, but traffic.
Right, but it's not the traffic. But the issue is I went to get an oil change this morning, and I was there at 9 o'clock, being like... it'll be done by 10. Especially I showed up, they're like, there's one person ahead of you. Awesome. But
I do want to hear more about your oil, but we have to get into Mandalorian.
We're at a clock.
So this is the non-spoiler review of Mandalorian Episode 6. Mandalorian Episode 6, non-spoils. I'll just start with you, EG. Still trying to make it work.
Yeah.
What did you think of this episode?
No, I really enjoyed it. It's funny. It's an interesting thing here with this show because it's turned out to be a very sort of like standalone adventure show, which I know is a big sort of hot topic. Like some people are like, why aren't they... People are like, it's a filler episode. They're not moving on. It's like, well, I think the kind of point is to do these standalone adventures. I kind of wish they might stagger them more, right? Like have it be like, here's a little more furthering a serialized plot. Now let's go back to a standalone adventure. I don't want it to be all serialized. I think this works really well for this character, the kind of cowboy motif they're doing, to have him have adventures of the week, but maybe break it up a little bit. The actual episode I thought was really fun. We'll talk about kind of the very eclectic group of guest stars they had, but I enjoyed this motley crew bouncing into Star Wars, so I thought it was another fun episode.
Emma, thoughts?
Yeah, another kind of jumping off of what Eric said there, like talking about how it's very serialized. Something Danielle brought up last week was that she didn't realize how much she missed shows like Xena Warrior Princess and Hercules The Legendary Journey until she started watching this, which were very much episodic kind of shows where you could watch any given episode and more or less understand what was going on.
Right.
I think that it's just the way our society is right now, and shows that I would say are kind of that in people's minds anyway are adjacent to the Mandalorian, they expect to be more serialized. Yeah. So I understand why people feel the way they do about it. And I think there is an overarching story, and it's only 8 episodes. But I loved this episode as an individual episode. So that's my thoughts.
Dan, come in with that fire. What do you got?
It is a TV show.
Exactly.
You cannot complain that the episode of your TV show is episodic. That's the format. If you have a problem with the show, you have a problem with the concept of what television is. It's a TV show.
Something about me wants to like make a rap as you're doing this, like drop a beat. Like it is a TV show,
and it is a TV show that I love. I love this show.
I do too.
Like if you're watching this, you have a adventure bounty hunter action drama set in the Star Wars universe, and if the only thing you can think coming out of this show is why is it so episodic? Like, it's a TV show.
Yeah, it is a
That's
TV
what happens,
show.
and it's not over.
Okay,
it's not over. They're not gonna just discard. They're gonna just wait.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
That is
Oh my
something-
God.
Dan, I don't know
he is
what
coming in
year.
hot.
I don't know. But seriously, I don't know
We're
what
not even arguing
year.
with him.
What year?
We're on his side.
I'm arguing with the world. I'm arguing with the planet.
But Dan, what year do you think we're in where people can wait? It's 2019. Nobody can wait for anything. But I completely.
I love this episode.
I agree with you. I thought this
I love this
episode was
episode.
fire. And let's just get right into the spoilers
There's a
of
longest
it
one, by the
because
way.
I want to watch Joe dance, but also I want to hear you guys' specific thoughts. So now we are going into the spoiler
is.
part of Mandalorian episode 6. Spoiler review. I agree with everything you just said, Dan, because I like to watch what's actually happening and then put it away. I do not necessarily want to see Gina Carano and Bill Burr and all these every episode intermingle and how the through line. I want to see standalone.
Yeah.
Great. That was an awesome under 40-minute thing that I just watched that I had so much fun with. What's our next adventure? Great. I just really enjoyed that. Maybe we'll see that character again in the future. Maybe not. Let's check it out.
Well, one of my favorite things about this is because of kind of the caliber of guest stars that they're bringing in. It's got a good like Batman 60s vibe to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna say no to playing in Star Wars?
Right, exactly. And like when they were making the Adam West Batman series in the 60s, it was very much the thing to be the villain of the week on Batman. And in this case, it's like the supporting character of the week. And it's great. I also loved how much like horror elements Rick Famuyiwa, who directed this episode, incorporated into it, because that's something that's always been really prevalent in Star Wars, and it's something that we haven't necessarily played around with yet in The Mandalorian. And God, I thought he did such a great job.
Visually, this was my favorite episode.
Yeah.
I love the confined spaces, the fact that it essentially happens in real time, the fact that they do that. I love when they do this, is they set up a thing, and then through the course of the episode you forget about it, and that for me was the tracking device.
Yes.
Such a big deal, and then everything happens and you forget about it, and then it comes back at the end and you're like, oh my God. And
because you're wondering, why did he just do that? Why did he leave them? Obviously, they're going to burn him. He's burned him 15 times already. Why would he think that this would be different?
Right.
And then you see, he actually, I like seeing his smarts. Sometimes we forget that he's really smart. We know he's fierce. We know he's a fighter. We know he's got great armor. We know that he can outmaneuver people, but dude's smart.
And then just that thing with Bill Burr in the red corridor with the flashing lights,
where he
and you see
becomes the Mandalorian becomes
him.
Jason or Michael for a second. Yeah,
I love this. This might have been my favorite episode. I really
loved this episode too, and I agree that a lot of it was because of just the way it was shot was so cinematic. It was so compelling, and it's interesting because it wasn't until about episode 4 that they started to get away from just showing things from the Mandalorian's perspective. And I feel like some of the weaker stuff, with the exception of the stuff with Ming-Na Wen last week, which was amazing, has been when it's not focused on him. But they did such a good job with shifting the focus in this, like you said, Eric, like turning him into the slasher almost for a moment. And Richard Iowade as the droid was so great.
He was great.
So great.
and Bill Burr, by the way, became the biggest villain ever in Star Wars because he dropped Baby Yoda.
I know.
Didn't care.
I was kind of surprised that Baby Yoda was able to be dropped like that.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys think like maybe he'd get dropped and he would
Like force float.
I kind of thought like he's not going to hit the ground. He's going to be above that. I also think it's really cool that they showed us various levels of dickishness in this episode. Like some people are just straight up dicks, and then some people are kind of dicks. But even watching like Bill Burr be like, "Oh, that's how you guys sibling." What an interesting family.
Right.
Who was your guys' favorite guest star this episode? Hard to say, I know.
I love a good Clancy Brown.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh my God! That was one that I was looking at. I was like, "Is that Clancy Brown?"
Yeah.
And I think for me, I am gonna go with Richard Iowade as the droid, because it was the same thing where for a lot of the episode I was going, "Hang on a second, is that Richard Iowade?" And I'm a big fan of his. So
I'll probably go with Clancy Brown too. Just also, I love Clancy Brown in general. We can talk about how there was a lot of sort of not in joke, but in Star Wars casting in this episode.
Yes, there was.
Clancy Brown had voiced Savage Opress on Clone Wars. He's done voices on Rebels as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to finally see him in live action in Star Wars. He wasn't the only person from Star Wars who got to do that. So I thought that was really cool.
Danielle came running in this morning and asked me where Boston is in the Star Wars galaxy, and I kind of laughed at it, but did it in no way, shape, or form bothered me with Bill Burr. I thought that it was fun.
With his Boston accent.
Yeah, he was perfect casting to me, because what Boston represents, like, he was such a asshole on screen.
Yeah.
I understand that.
This goes back to I remember Pernilla August, who plays Shmi Skywalker, talking about saying to George Lucas, should I try to hide my Swedish accent? And he's like, no, you're from the Swedish planet. And so it's like, I think that's Star Wars, right? It's like, because you also had Mark Boone Jr. from Sons of Anarchy, who was
was great.
He's great. And he's got this sort of gruff accent we haven't really heard in Star Wars, but it's a huge galaxy, guys.
It was a little weird when they stopped for 5 minutes for Bill Burr to yell at Baby Yoda for being a snowflake. That took me out of it.
That was questionable.
That took me out of it.
That was a tough scene.
It was just weird. It just didn't see. I don't know if that was a contractual thing.
I think I mentally blocked that part out.
Yeah, and then when Twitter went crazy on that too, that was a wild moment. I'm glad we're kind of all on the same page. I'm finding that the internet may or may not be on the same page that we are.
Never is.
I think that there's just the people who are at its core are going to be mad that this series is not this hyper serialized show, and I think it is just that's what we've become used to. Especially, not only is this show airing weekly like an old school show, but Netflix shows, and I think to a fault, are like, we're one big movie, and you can't even remember what an episode is. And I think about Jessica Jones, which is a show I really like.
Yeah,
but I can't name an episode of that or what happened, but also I remember always thinking, why don't they have breaks where she's just doing a case? Like, her entire deal would work so well to be like, we don't have to do the story this week. We can just do a case. This show's leaning totally the other way, and I think it's just really throwing people who have gotten so used to, it's one big movie.
But Jessica Jones doesn't have movies. Star Wars does.
Right.
So if you'd rather watch the movie version, then go watch a movie.
Yeah.
Next week.
Not the TV show. Any other last thoughts on Mandalorian episode 6? I believe it was called The Prisoners, but could have made that up.
Yeah.
Prisoner.
Just wanted to mention Matt Lanter, who also voiced Anakin Skywalker, getting to show up in live action was cool.
Yes, that was cool.
And then it was funny because I was very amused by Filoni's cameo, and then realizing it was a X-Wing squadron of directors. Yeah, it had to be a Favreau thing. Like, he probably is like, you get in the cockpit. You get in the cockpit.
But why not?
I loved that.
That was great.
Also, was Natalia Tena also considered for the role of Bellatrix Lestrange in addition to Tonks, because she played crazy real good.
I don't mind the crazy.
That was the other thing we should mention is that, yes, it's telling standalone stories, but we're getting these little kernels. So it's like the backstory there. That's okay. The backstory that, like, this Mandalorian used to run with a couple of these characters, that there seemed to be a relationship. We can talk about the whole Helmet On thing. But the fact that, he had a history with a couple of these characters. And the idea that these are all criminals, and there is, I think, Kim, which you mentioned that it was like, we're getting to see the different facets of these scumbags. Like some of them are more scummier than others.
I called it dickishness, but
the
scumbags.
dickishness.
People that would have said it's not serialized or whatever, it's like, this is a one-off. Like, Ming-Na, they set something up with her last week.
Yeah.
All three of these folks still very much alive in prison, ready to be sprung. Like, we still have, there's still the whole thing with the guild and the Bounty Hunters Guild.
Oh,
and the fact that he's on the run from them. You had an appearance from Carl Weathers, and the fact that other bounty hunters are now targeting him, because, like, this idea that, like, there's no overarching continuity is bullshit. Sorry.
It is.
Oh my God.
P.S. I agree.
He said the B word.
But I am curious what you guys think at home. The only corner of the internet we care about is this corner of the internet. So how are you guys feeling about Mandalorian in general? Try to keep the comment section spoiler free. We don't want to ruin it for other people, but just let us know what you guys are thinking about it. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell.
Ding.
Okay,
Great.
Ryan just said ding, so we're going to say that counts. Also, guys, we have a ton of other stuff going on here. Power Levels. If you recognize the voice in it, it is actually me, not Emma Fyffe, but still getting it confused all the time. Thanos versus the Death Star. Make sure you check it out on Screen Junkies now. And, of course, Never Surrender, guys. It's going to be available for pre-order and out December 17th. Still can't believe the accomplishment that you guys, it's just incredible. And I'm so glad that everybody's going to be able to finally see it.
Yes.
If they missed it in theaters, now they're going to be able to pre-order it planned. It will be out on December 17th, so make sure you guys check that out. Also, another thing that Joe Starr has actually started implementing, because he is the best person on the planet, is he looks at different organizations, and this month we are spotlighting 826 LA. Dan, can you talk to us a little bit about 826 LA?
Yeah, 826 LA is a great organization. They help encourage creative writing among underprivileged students. They have tutors, they have classes, they encourage creativity and embracing that part of yourself that, depending on the school that you're in, maybe there aren't a lot of creative arts programs, or maybe they're underfunded, or maybe you just want more extra support. That's what 826 LA is all about. They provide resources for students that want to go into writing, creative writing. Spencer has been in the organization. He's worked with them before. He's brought up a few times the fact that they do a thing at the end of every year, like a best of thing that helps support it, so you can check that out. There's a bunch of 6
to 18. That's
6 to 18.
Huge range.
It's a huge range, and to foster that kind of creativity is just, I think, a wonderful mission for any organization. So yeah, 826 LA. There's links in the description. You can check it out. Find information.
It's links.
It's in this general area.
The links from the people.
Find out how to support them. Find out more about them. It's really cool. They're a really cool organization, and we're happy to help signal boost what they're doing.
826 LA. Cool. Check it out, guys. Now this is something that we specifically needed Emma Fyffe here today for. We don't have much time to discuss it, but you're the only person here who really can. BENIOFF and WEISS Lovecraft adaptation.
Why? Because I've played Call of Cthulhu before.
The reason I say it is because prior to the show starting, I turned to Joe Starr and said, "Is Lovecraft a video game?"
No.
So that's the level of knowledge. Level of knowledge I have.
H.P. Lovecraft, science fiction writer from the like 1920s, like oldie timey classic kind of stuff. Wrote a lot of things with demons and elder gods and stuff of that nature. So
what are your thoughts on this, that BENIOFF and WEISS are set to do this for Warner Brothers?
Sure. Well, okay. I mean, the thing is that BENIOFF and WEISS proved that they did a pretty good job adapting existing material. It was once they kind of got past where they could really draw stuff from the books for Game of Thrones that I think they started to I don't know if falter is the right word, but make some interesting choices that maybe didn't sit with me as well. But I mean, the thing that interests me about this actually is the involvement of Karyn Kusama, because Lovecraft is horror and Karyn Kusama is like a horror person. So
she directed The Invitation and Destroyer, which I don't know.
And Jennifer's Body.
And Jennifer's Body.
Oh, Jennifer's Body I do know. So Roxy's at the table.
Yeah. So that is the thing that's most interesting to me about it, actually, is her involvement.
And the only thing I'll say is that it just seems like, because they're producing it, but they're not actively writing and directing it. So I feel like, especially with the Netflix deal too, they're trying to kind of become like an Abrams or a Berlanti, where it's like they just will have a whole umbrella of things that they're producing, but they're not necessarily creatively involved.
Totally.
And so people can take that as they will.
Dan, what do you think about this being the project they're working on post Game of Thrones?
I mean, they want to sign up to adapt another big, much loved fantasy franchise. Have fun, enjoy.
Yeah.
We
wish them luck.
I understand that they bear some responsibility for the reaction to Game of Thrones. It wasn't like the Titanic, where there were like two guys in a boiler room by themselves pulling all the switches and levers. There's a lot of
wow, somebody should do a sketch like that. BENIOFF and WEISS.
Yeah. I also agree. Karyn Kusama, I think, has an amazing vision. The Invitation. Oh man,
yeah,
that is a really slow burn, twisted horror movie,
and that's perfect for adapting Lovecraft. So if they had come at me with Karyn Kusama is directing an adaptation of sort of Lovecraft's whole world, I'd be 110% in. Yeah. So again, the fact that she's attached to it does make me interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder, though, because you talked about them being kind of similar to a Berlanti, this being with Warner Brothers. I mean, Berlanti does seemingly 90% of his stuff in one place.
Yeah.
is this going to be a problem that they're trying to spread out? Netflix, Warner Brothers. Obviously, they had the Star Wars thing that was.
But I think that's the difference. Like Star Wars, they were actively writing, and so the fact that it's not just producing. Producing has a lot of facets to it, but they clearly are not going to be as creatively involved as they would have been with Star Wars. So I think this is seen as a thing they can do on the side in a way that Star Wars or Game of Thrones was not compared to their Netflix deal.
Well, I certainly have some researching to do on this one. I'm glad that Lovecraft is a person, not a game. And now I think it's time for fan questions because it's Friday. Woo! Fan Friday, go Fan Friday. All right, that was the live version.
I like it. It's good.
Because why not? Grease lightning in the building right now, guys. This is coming from Vonnie Dew. Vonnie Dew says, just finished watching Claws on Netflix. I love the movie, and we are adding it to the annual Christmas rotation. What are some newer Christmas movies that have been added to yours? So, has anybody seen Claws on Netflix?
I hear it's really good.
I've heard it's amazing. I have not watched it yet.
I haven't seen this either, but I'm glad. Thank you, Vonnie Dew, for recommending it. Now I definitely will watch it. Dan, starting with you, what are some newer Christmas movies? Anything that's been added?
I'm trying to think because like the number of like canonized Christmas movies.
Why is Emma laughing?
Because
so
all
much?
I can think of is Krampus, which is a horror movie.
Yeah, hey, it could be. I bet like the canon of Christmas movies is actually very small.
Yeah.
Die Hard, yes. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
I think that maybe the newest one that I can think of that was like has officially been canonized is Elf.
Yeah.
Like as far as like
Love
it is 100%
Actually.
in the canon. Love Actually, I think is in there for a lot of folks. Not me, but a lot of folks.
Obviously me. If it's not for Dan,
I'm with you, Roxy.
But I'm trying to think of like new ones that are. Like,
Yeah.
there's only like
You know
one or
what?
two a year.
you guys check
There's
out
the
Noelle?
Chris
I didn't
Curtin-
see that.
Oh no, it's on Disney Plus. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Kurt
That's a
Russell
weird
Christmas
one.
Chronicles.
Which they're making a sequel to, I believe.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
I wanted to, but didn't see the movie with Dan Stevens playing Charles Dickens.
Oh, I hear that was excellent.
Yeah, The Man Who Invented Christmas.
People say that movie was
I
incredible.
really
I
want to
didn't
see
that
it.
either.
So I'm adding that to my list of Christmas movies I'm going to watch this
Man Who
year.
Invented Christmas. Oh.
Yeah.
I will say
The Mandalorian Who Invented Christmas.
the movie Last
holiday
Christmas
special.
is definitely not on mine. Do you have any on yours?
I have the total unofficial ones. Like, if Die Hard is controversial, then I go completely off. There are literally ones I watch every December. One is Batman Returns.
Yes.
Which I almost wore the shirt for today until I realized it's Friday 13th. But then I'll say a little more recently, last like decade and a half, is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Shane Black, all his movies are set at Christmas, but that one in particular, which I love, but also Christmas I feel is a little more incorporated into that movie. And then sometimes I'll watch Go. I love Go.
What is Go?
Go with Katie Holmes, Timothy Olyphant, Sarah Polley.
I've seen that.
You should see Go.
It's part of the class of '99, wasn't it?
That's
that movie?
yeah. John August wrote it.
I like that our newer Christmas movies are
that's
in
the thing.
90s,
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is the most recent, and that's like 2005. But Go, which is also again incidentally set at Christmas, but I enjoy the movie, so December gives me an excuse to watch it. So.
I think The Night Before probably is in a lot of people's rotations.
Yeah.
That's a you got the comedy, this kind of Rogan-esque, not Rogan-esque. It is Rogan.
Rogan. It's very Rogan.
Very Rogan. He's in it prominently. So I think
I
that's
like
probably
that.
into the canon.
And
for
Krampus,
some
you mentioned.
people.
Yeah,
Krampus
Krampus.
for the horror fans.
I wonder why there aren't more right now. I think that a lot of them are going to streaming because I remember last year on Netflix, I was watching a ton of Christmassy movies at this time. I don't remember what any of
Christmas
them were.
Prince has now a trilogy. So.
Yeah.
Set it up.
I have yet to watch the Knight Before Christmas.
Wait, what's that one?
The Night-
The Night with Vanessa Hudgens.
Yes.
Wait, what is that one?
The Night Before Christmas, but Knight, like, knight in
And
shining
it's like
armor.
a time traveling night.
Oh, that's how it's
Yeah.
spelled.
To modern day and falls in love with Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah.
I guess because we did a really crappy job of giving Vonnie Dew any kind of recommendations to watch for Christmas that are newer. Maybe just like some top two Christmas movies that you guys
that I include?
That you guys are including.
I always watch Meet Me in St. Louis, which ends at Christmas. That's what the song "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" is from.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And
I've seen it
what's
before.
another like good? Oh, the OG Miracle on 34th Street. All of mine are old. I like old Christmas movies.
Yeah, mine actual old school ones are super cliche. Well, I mean, I guess cliche in that One of them is Die Hard. But the other, Christmas Story, I mean, I know it's like people are sick of it, but I still love the hell out of it.
I just thought of another one that I always watch. The Holiday. So good.
Love that you came back in to add that.
Gremlins is a Christmas favorite.
Okay, Dan.
I'm a sucker for It's a Wonderful Life.
Me too.
Always.
Me too.
I love
Me
It's a
too.
Wonderful
It's
Life.
so good.
Yeah, me too.
It's such a good movie.
We agree.
I start crying at the beginning of the movie in anticipation of the end.
I watch it every single Christmas without fail.
Yeah,
It's
me
the
too.
one that I do not miss at Christmas time.
Home Alone, which I'm
Yeah.
introducing Mara to this year.
She's never seen it?
No,
Have you watched the movies that made us about it?
I have not. But
good
maybe
watch.
we'll watch that after we watch Home Alone.
There you go.
Look, that's a current recommendation.
Well, I mean, that's well, it's a documentary about a Christmas movie. So
But
yeah,
still, yeah.
there you go.
Elf, Christmas Vacation, and if you want to find a weird one, go find Santa Claus the movie. I talk about it every Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Santa Claus the movie
Lithgow
is
and
a
Dudley
super
Moore.
Weird movie. It is about Santa Claus, who's played by the guy who played the Big Lebowski, not Jeff Bridges, the actual.
Yeah, the
Big
Big Lebowski.
David
Yeah.
Huddleston, I think.
Yep.
And he's Santa Claus, and Dudley Moore is an elf who wants to modernize the toy industry, but then things go wrong, and so he's exiled from the North Pole, and he invents a candy cane that if you eat it, you make it fly. And an industrialist tycoon who's played by John Lithgow is looking to exploit it, but the candy canes are like chemically unstable.
Oh yeah. I have the Marvel.
I'm in.
I have the Marvel Comics adaptation of this.
Yes, and
Santa
the
Claus the
whole
movie.
thing is sponsored by Coke.
Yep.
So every 5 minutes, somebody gets a very prominent can of Coke. There's an orphan boy.
That sounds like
Somebody was high
McDonald's
on weed.
level sponsorship in Mac and Me.
It's pretty egregious.
Do you guys do any of the claymation ones?
Yes.
At the holidays?
I love them.
Yeah. But I also love the Peanuts one, and then I'm also Night Before Christmas. I'm a big Night Before Christmas.
I'm a big Night Before Christmas person too.
Yeah.
My
Grinch.
favorite of those,
The animated.
yes.
The 60s animated.
The 60s animated
I have to
one.
keep clarifying.
Yes. I think my favorite of those Rankin Bass claymation ones is Santa Claus is Coming to Town because it's so 70s.
I have recently been going through them because growing up we didn't watch any of them because Jewish.
Yeah.
So, but
That's why Mara's never seen Home Alone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Trying to
See,
learn
I
some
was
of
just
these.
a bad Jew, guys. I was watching all of it.
No, we didn't watch them, but now I am, and I will say some of the claymation ones are a little creepy
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's correct.
to watch. What does he scream 3 times? Like, rum, rum, rum. Guilty, 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 or like whatever. You guys don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to think which one that's in.
Like Rudolph or Santa Claus, one of them.
Yeah, I think
Busy, busy, busy. That's what he says. You guys don't remember that part?
It's been a while.
Busy, busy, busy.
See the snowman?
Is it Frosty? Is it
But that's
Frosty?
animated.
Yeah.
Frosty
Oh,
is
it's not
animated.
claymation. It's
But
just
it's-
animated. Well,
yeah,
he's
same
he's
company produced it though. I
It's
think.
still creepy, but I love
like that.
Love Actually.
And there was the 70s Night Before Christmas with the mouse. Did anyone ever see that?
No.
They used to show it. I think TNT or something still shows
Yeah.
it. And when I was a kid, I remember seeing repeats of that, and that one really struck a chord with me just because that's where I think of Twas the Night Before Christmas coming from.
What's everybody's favorite Christmas Carol? Go.
Of the 5,000 versions,
Yes.
the 2 that I will endorse are the George C. Scott one and the
Okay.
Patrick Stewart one.
Okay.
Patrick Stewart and Muppets.
Muppets for me, and I loved Mickey Christmas Carol as a
Mickey.
kid.
Oh,
It's really good.
I don't even know how to
Scary.
answer the question. The Jewish one. Anyway, I think that at least Bonnie do. If we couldn't give you recent ones, those hopefully will give you something to watch. I learned some new stuff. Forever learning as the Jew, guys. Forever learning. Thanks so much for joining us today for SJU. We really appreciate it, guys. EG, where can the people keep up with you?
On fandom.com and then on Twitter and Instagram at the Eric Goldman.
Emma Fyffe.
I am Emma Fyffe all over the internet. All the things Emma Fyffe.
Dan Murrell.
At Murrell Dan on Twitter. You can find me here. You can find big reviews next week. 2 big ones.
What are they?
Big ones.
Give us a hint. Give us a hint.
Star Wars.
Yes.
And my most anticipated movie of the year. Cats.
I'm seeing Cats on Monday. I can't wait.
I cannot. Wait, you're going on Monday?
I'm going on
We're
Monday.
Tuesday.
Yeah, you're getting it a day early.
That NBC Universal employee screening, baby.
Oh, you got the inside track.
There you go.
I can't believe you've seen Cats before any of us. I'm more jealous than the people who are going to the Star Wars premiere. That's crazy. I'm everywhere at Roxy Striar. We really appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We want to read all your Christmas recommendations, Mandalorian thoughts, etc. We'll see you guys on Monday morning for SJU.
Happy weekend.